but some people, they're afraid to make a decision or a new lifestyle or choice or break up with somebody they're with. They know it's the right thing to do, but they're still afraid to do it. So how can you help them overcome their fears to actually do the right thing?
Well, you could bring them to a place of neutral. For one, you have to get them off the subject of that. You have to distract them from that. And most people that are fear of something already went through it once before. And when they went through it, they experienced something different afterwards. So, if it was a breakup, well, they had to probably break up with someone else to get into this, so it expanded into it. It's literally the act of holding on to something. We weren't meant to hold on to anything. We know this. You can't hold on to money. You can't hold on to anything. Actually, everything's supposed to be fluid. The energy, once you hold on to something, that literally becomes a resistor. And that resistor then creates disease in our body. We're actually meant to be a conductor of energy flowing. Most people worry about stuff coming, but I'm like, when does stuff never not come? And when you actually look at it from that perspective, you don't, like if someone's in a down place, you almost say, well, this too shall pass. Don't try to get them to think positive right away, that beat again, like making the U-turn and doing 100 miles an hour. I don't suggest that. But, is there something more specific you want to talk about? Because if it's more specific, I can actually get more into...
No, I was just saying, like, if you, because I know, a lot of my clients, like, they're afraid to maybe go into business. I was wondering if we had some tips to help them overcome their fears. So, just like you said, if you're afraid to take a road trip to go to San Diego, so it's actually, like, you want to get there, but some people are just afraid to make the move. So, do you have any tips?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's afraid of failure. Like how do we, I think just to chime in on what he's saying, I agree. Like we're afraid to start the new business, or we're afraid to, do something that could cost us maybe, the breakup, like you said, then we'd be alone.
Or go into business because you're afraid you might lose money.
You might lose your money.
Yeah, but, if you don't go into business, you lose money anyway. In other words, the fear of it, because when you look at it, you have to actually get to a different objective to look at it. So if you were dealing with a client, trying to get them, you have to then change their perspective. Because in other words, when you get someone up to a different level to see it, they see it completely different. When they're trying to see the skyline from the basement, you're not going to get to that. You have to coax them up to the a sight point to where they can see that. So talking about the business won't do that. So you would literally have to distract them from that and maybe bring them to a point where, because everyone has success in their life. But failure, again, is like fear. It's an illusion. It's nonsensical, because, we all heard a story about, famous people like, Edison, how many times did he fail before he became successful? But he never looked at his failure. It was just, 10,000 discoveries. And what is it with failing? Because we want to tell people we did it. So more people are worried about what someone's going to think of them if they fail in business rather than the business. So it's the comparison goes back to the breakdown of that setting. So when you look at it, we're just bundles of frequency of energy. The first sign of life is a single wave. Now, what success truly is being in tune with that wave. It's, like in music, your rhythm. But if you're out of rhythm, you just cancel each other out. That's chaos. Most people are out of the rhythm of their own natural frequency because they're trying to. It would almost be like, say the Rolling Stones were playing and all of a sudden Zeppelin jumped on stage. It would sound like hell. Stairway to Heaven and Red Boom, right? No, you have to be in tune with where you are. And most people, so that would be the comparison of the music. So it's like, okay, both these play at a time, I'm going to choose which one I like. It's going to be disastrous. So when you compare yourself to somebody, you're actually interfering with the natural wave of your system. So you have to stop that. And once people get to that understanding, that's when the idea of the business and how to operate it, one step at a time comes. So it's literally about getting to that neutral place and then getting the momentum of going. And once you actually, because biologists know this now, once you raise your frequency to a higher level, and the higher level isn't better, by the way. It's just a different level of frequency. But once you raise your higher level, what they know is, like people say, life is difficult, why didn't it come with a manual? It actually did. It's called your DNA. When you raise to a frequency that you've never been to before, you're granted information through history. So, like when people ask me, how did you come up, like what was your method of writing the book, or where did you get the information from? I could say it was meditation. And when I would meditate, ideas would come to me and I'd write them down. And then when I present to other people, it made sense, because what I'm saying here isn't new. Is it resonating or is it not? So if it's resonating, I'm not teaching you anything. I'm just lifting you up to a state. When I lift you up to a state, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So I may be facilitating. So as human beings, we can facilitate other people by maintaining the state in which we're in and facilitating them up. But if they don't decide to come up, we can't. If we go down with them, we're going to be arguing. So sometimes people just need to hit a wall and get tired, because negative energy, the beautiful thing about negative energy, it's fragmented, it breaks down. You will eventually get to a point where you peter out and you're tired, and when you're tired, you're actually in a neutral state. And in that moment, you can actually then make a different choice. So it's not even, like a lot of times, because in our universe, we have positive and negative. And I look at it from a physics standpoint. I don't mean in a good or bad connotation. It's physics, it's energy. So we get to choose which direction we'll go in, but if I eliminate negative, there is no positive. The poles actually create the conductiveness of the energy. So not to get like too science on you, but but you actually just have to understand, there really isn't built-in meaning to anything other than the fact we give it meaning. Because if there was built-in meaning to everything, people would laugh at the same exact time during a movie. Have you been to a movie and like 5 people laughed? Well, how is that? Because my perspective at that moment, then you might argue, you have fun with your friends, how did you not find that funny? Because they weren't at that level. And it doesn't mean that your level was better. It's just because you laughed, it's more enjoyable. But but that's what it is. It's about understanding frequencies. We literally are vibrating frequencies, and we're shifting billions of times per second. So we're never the same person. But what we do is we try to reciprocate the same person, and what happens is, in physics, when you go back to the same place, you interfere with the frequency rather than let it go in a more linear perspective movement. You're actually banging into each other. So if you took sound frequency, you kept rolling onto each other, they would bang into each other and then you would have noise. So it's kind of, when you try to position yourself that way, every human being has a natural state frequency. And if something feels bad, it's telling you, the feeling bad is like the GPS saying, make a U-turn, make a U-turn. And if you never had GPS before, the first time, you're like, what the hell is she saying, But the truth is, when you're feeling bad, and there's different levels of feeling bad, there's aggravation and anger, it's literally, the further you get away from it, your inner mechanism will get louder and louder and louder until you just peter out, and that's what we call despair. But when you peter out, you have a place to pick yourself up because the momentum of negativity literally stops.